And then, though, when I was able to, like, when I figured AIM out and I realized I could change my screen name, I changed it to maybe something worse.
Tell me. This is so exciting. Oh my God, we're doing a podcast.
You're doing a podcast. I'm just here.
You're doing it with me. I can't do this on my own. Yes. Well, first and foremost, peek behind the curtain. We had some technical difficulties, and so I appreciate you being so lovely.
Listen, it happens.
I also love that we were able to call your husband.
I know.
As an SOS.
Well, he produces, so it's, sometimes I do background vocals and he'll have the same issue, which is the static and all that stuff, and then he's troubleshooting. So I was like, he's the only person I know who can fix audio problems.
Is he in general handy?
Yes.
Like? Oh, is he?
I mean, yeah. He, especially now, so one of his dreams was to like have land, like so he grew up with like not a national forest, but like a protected forest behind his house. So like growing up, he was like literally going to play in the woods and stuff. And so when we were talking about raising a family, that was something that was really important to him, was he wanted her to be able to like experience nature, and like he loves hiking, he loves mountain biking, like anything he can do to be outside, he loves. I love hiking, I love all that, but as I get older, I'm becoming an indoor kid.
Sure. Yes, of course.
Like I love doing all the stuff, but at the same time, like he will go to like there's a place here called Tractor Supply, and he'll get like it's not just 4 tractors, but like, or he'll go to like Ace Hardware and like talk to people about, okay, I need like a sprayer for outside for bugs, and he like bought this thing that is literally like when you call a company to come spray for mosquitoes in your backyard, and it has like the chemicals in the backpack and the sprayer and everything. Like he bought one of those so that he doesn't have to call a company to do it.
Does he love it? Does he feel there's got to be maybe some like innate thing, like protect the home, get rid of the mosquitoes?
It's very like he was like outside changing like light bulbs. Like I think like there's a thing with guys where if they're doing manual labor, that they're like, I did something useful today.
Yeah.
But like when we first moved to this house from a storm, there was like a smaller tree that had fallen, and he went out there with a chainsaw and was like chopping the tree into like
a chainsaw.
He was chopping the tree into like pieces so that he could like move it and get it down, because he didn't want it knocking over another tree.
Were you worried? I'd be like, what if you
I was just like up. I was like, our house is kind of like on a hill, and so he was like down below, and so I was just like up watching from the window, drinking my coffee.
Incredible.
I was like, great job, honey.
You're just giving him thumbs up from the balcony. Oh my God, I love this.
Yeah, but he came back with poison oak all over his body.
Of course.
Yeah. So
pros and cons of nature.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of, I love nature. I feel the resettingness of it when I'm in it. Especially during the summer, I'm trying to take my dog on a nice long walk, at least like once a week. That reset, sun, whatever that is, I feel it. However,
there's science behind that.
Of course. Yeah. Vitamin D, all the things.
Oh God, I'm blanking on what it's called. But Paul listens to a lot of podcasts. He reads a lot of books. And there is something to like in the morning, the first thing you do, going and sitting outside and closing your eyes and having your eyes basically under your lids looking at the sun.
Oh.
And it's supposed to do something for you. It like resets you, and it's supposed to help your, obviously, like they say, being out during the day and in the sun is obviously helpful for vitamin D, but like your circadian rhythm and all of that.
Sure. Yes. I've heard this. This is Andrew Huberman's whole thing.
Yes.
It's like the first thing out in the sun. And
yep.
blah, blah, blah,
that's
blah.
exactly where it came from.
Love that, man.
Yep.
Yes. Which I don't know that I do it. I'm not sure that I abide very religiously to his things. Maybe one day I'll get off my ass and do it. But I do notice a difference when I spend the morning in the sun. It's really nice.
And you know,
sleep better.
The interesting thing is, like, when my 5-month-old Romy, when I take her out, if she's like being really fussy, if I just take her outside, she stops. It's there's something to it.
Yes.
There's something to being out in nature and the sounds. And I know my friend was telling me something about grounding. Like, if you go outside barefoot, like in the grass, there's something with what the earth does to you by like having your feet planted in the earth.
I love this. I feel like there's this renaissance of like men who are fathers, like older, whatever generation that would be, just kind of getting up in the morning and in their retirement, just sticking their feet in the ground and starting their day that way. I feel like there's been this thing in the zeitgeist, but I hope everyone does it. I'm sure there's something, I always say feral, but that sounds crazy and
it's
rabid,
primal.
Primal is exact word I was looking for, Katie.
Yep.
Add to vocab. Thank you so much for that gift. But yeah, there's something very primal about just nature. But what I will say, the only thing as I'm getting older, I also find myself more aware of like the shit in nature that I don't want to be in, like ticks, mosquitoes.
Well, and now that we like kind of like live amongst the woods, like
you're woods people.
Yeah, we're woods people. Like I haven't picked a tick off of my dog in, like, Winnie has never had a tick, but like my old dog would get ticks all the time. I haven't done that since I was like 10. Sure. And now I'm,
constantly doing
it. We have chickens now, though, and once you allow them to graze, they eat ticks.
Chickens eat ticks?
Yeah.
So they give us eggs and they eat ticks.
Yeah.
Why are we killing them?
Yeah. And did
you know platform now.
Did you know that the color of an egg, like what color the egg comes out, like brown, and you know how sometimes like when you're at like a farmer's market, there's so many different shades? That's based on the nutrition of the chicken.
Really? So are you doing the whole egg thing and everything? Or
well, they're new, so they're young. So I think you have to wait. I don't know. People out there probably know way more about this than my husband does, but it's like a couple months before they produce eggs.
And then you're just do you have any qualms at all about using the eggs that are produced by the chickens that you are in charge of?
No.
Great.
It's great because you're like, I know where these come from. And I know that like I had a pretty like traumatizing, we were driving down to Florida and we were behind a truck that was rows and rows of chickens, like just, they were alive, but they were just like packed together. And I just felt so bad for them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to give my chickens the best life.
Of course. They're so sweet.
Like I wake up in the morning and I'll like walk down there with Romy. I like slip my shoes on and, they go into the coop at night and then you shut the door and then you open it and let them out. And I like go down there and I'm like, good morning, girls.
Oh my gosh.
They're like,
so fun.
Yeah. It's like, it's hard for me to eat chicken now that I have chickens.
Yeah. I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Cause it's weird to say that you've humanized them, but you've, whatever the word for humanized would be for an animal, you've animalized them. Like they have personalities and they have things that they like. And
also, did you ever notice how chickens, they like, when they look at you, they like kind of turn and like look at you with one eye?
I haven't had an
encounter.
Okay,
well you'll come to my house and you'll see.
Yes, great.
But they'll like walk up to you and then they kind of like turn their head. And I guess chickens, correct me if I'm wrong, but Paul told me this the other day. Chickens, one eye is farsighted so they could see far away, and then the other one is what they could see up close.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So like they just are born with like astigmatism.
I guess so. Is that what astigmatism is?
I don't know. All I remember is the commercial with the twins from the early 2000s.
Oh my God. I just saw that video pop up.
There are so many things.
Somebody was like, this commercial is a core memory for me.
It really is. There are so many things from
I remember being like, they're beautiful. That was,
they were gorgeous.
I think that's why it like stuck in my head.
I think it was also, I don't know if I have the right timeline, and I will not fact check this, so sorry. But I think it was also not too long after The Parent Trap. And I just remember being a kid and thinking like, I don't know if they're real because I found out that Lindsay Lohan is one person. And so now I'm traumatized and I think that no twins are real.
Yeah. I actually watched really The Parent Trap the other day.
Oh my God, did it hold up or no?
It did. It did. So and good. You know what? I thought maybe I would see that they were like digitally making two of her.
Yeah.
Can't tell at all.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought, especially now being in the industry, I would be able to tell.
Sure.
Because I could tell when something is like green screened or, any of that. Yeah. But it's fascinating to me.
I love
especially that being in like, what was that movie? 1998, 7?
Sure.
One of those.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That feels like a million years ago.
Yeah.
For it to still hold up.
I mean, Nancy Meyers can do no wrong in my book.
Totally. It's also just a very, I don't know. We can all relate to if you have siblings that love, or if you don't have siblings. Like I was an only child, so I related to. I was like, oh my God, what if I just find out one day I have a sibling? My whole world would be better.
Yeah.
And just family and love. They're very, I don't know, just stronghold.
I went through a
stores.
I think because of Parent Trap, because of Mary-Kate and Ashley, I went through a phase where like I wished I was a twin.
Oh my God, of course.
Yeah.
We all did.
Like I'm still my best friend, my childhood best friend, Kimmy. Everybody used to tell us when we were little that we like looked alike, and we would like, she actually is a twin, but like in my head, I would pretend that her and I were twins.
Of course. And you would be on vacations, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I was always sisters on vacation.
Yeah. Fun fact, when I was a senior in high school, my graduating class, I mean, I feel like there were like 300 of us, but my graduating class was in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most sets of twins in one graduating class.
That is not what I thought. It's such
a
specific thing.
I graduated with 13 sets of twins.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So 26 twinsies.
26 people in my class were twins.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was some sort of something in the, like, there's got to, like, I sound like,
well, it's hereditary, right?
Okay. So did all the
like
twins
you have a
move?
higher probability of having twins if there are twins in your family. But I also don't know how true that is, because I know someone who had twins and there are no twins that run in their family.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they are like back.
Yeah,
but at some point, everyone's just fucking everybody. So the lineage is just all discombobulated and jumbled together. But my question is, like, I want to know, like, the anthropological reason behind that. Like, was there like a mass, like, whatever the opposite of exodus is, like just infiltration of people who had twins in their family to your town?
I don't know. I mean, I also just am like, it's a matter of biology, the way the egg and the sperm connect, and
sure. You're like coincidence camp.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I went to my first appointment after finding out I was pregnant, and we did our first ultrasound, it's the most nerve-wracking appointment that you have, because that's where you can't have your first ultrasound until you're like 8 weeks. Like that's when they give you your first appointment. So it's like, you're like, all right, I gotta make it through these 8 weeks. And then you get to the appointment and you're like, I hope there's a heartbeat, and it's so anxiety inducing. And
I've never thought about that.
So like you lay down on the thing and they put the gel in your stomach and they do it, and they're like, there's a heartbeat, and you see like the little like kind of like flutter in this little like poppy seed sized thing, or like a bean sized thing. And then she goes, all right, let's make sure there's just one in there. And I was like, I didn't even think of that as a possibility. I hope there's only one in there.
So you go from like just so insanely happy to, oh my God, wait a second.
Yeah.
This is not what I prepared for.
I mean, obviously, like I would, if I had twins, like It'd be great. It would be great. But at the same time, now being a new mom and knowing how much it takes to cater to one baby.
To have two
at the same time.
At the exact same time, the same age, yeah.
Or like two, I guess you don't know the difference, but I was going to say two for your first pregnancy.
Yes. Oh my gosh, of course.
Like you won't know the difference because you've never had a baby before. But like I can't imagine like taking care of like, you know, I mean, this is just mom talk, but I'm like, okay, what if one baby wants to nap and then the other one doesn't? Or like,
for sure.
And normally people have twins in the same room. So it's like, if one baby's crying, it probably creates the other baby's just like, I don't know, I guess I'm supposed to cry right now. And then they start crying. Like, yeah.
They're both puking at the same time. That's a lot of projectile.
Yeah. I mean, my baby doesn't puke that much, which is nice.
Yeah, the good genes, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
My friend whose sister had twins, from what I understand, her experience was like when they were babies, it was brutal. It was her only pregnancy. So it was just all hands on deck, just like Purple Heart worthy, just commitment to raising two children at the same time. And then once they hit a certain age, it was like they did everything together. They watched each other. It was like it almost made up for how much work you put into it because they were then able to do everything together and help each other through stuff. So it was like great at a certain age.
Well, I mean, and that's what everybody's experience is different because if you only have one child or, you know, if some people have trouble. So if you really want a second child, but you can't, like, you know, you don't know the difference when you have just one. But from what I hear and, you know, my experience, I have a brother, so we're 2.5 years apart. So I'm sure that we kept each other occupied.
Sure.
You know,
yeah, of course.
But everybody says that 2 kids is almost easier than one when it comes to a certain age because like they play together, essentially.
Okay, well, great. While we're on here, I want to learn about little Katie.
Little Katie?
Can we go back to little Katie?
We'll see what I can remember, yeah.
So were you born in Connecticut or?
I was born in Connecticut, yeah.
And then how long, were you in the same town for the
Until
whole
I was, well, I mean, within the same town, you know, like sure. I grew up in Waterbury and then there are a lot of Burries. So I grew up in Waterbury. Right next to Waterbury is Middlebury. You basically like, you'll drive and you'll just suddenly be in it. And Middlebury, I think the population is like 7,800 people or something. So that very small.
Yeah.
And then my Middlebury, like my middle school combined with Southbury's middle school to combine the high school. So it's like, yeah, like Waterbury, Middlebury, Southbury is where I like grew up. But I kind of consider them like Middlebury, Southbury especially, I consider as like one thing.
One thing.
Yeah.
So what if you had to give the greater Bury area a personality, what would you say it was?
Oh God.
Because I know nothing about Connecticut at all.
Yeah, I feel like when I would tell people that I'm from Connecticut, like everybody thinks of like Greenwich. Like super like rich and, you know, I mean, we were middle class.
Fine.
But I mean, it was just nice. It was a nice place to grow up, you know. I feel like everybody feels this, or some people feel this way about where they grew up, is like you have like your childhood memories that you may or may not think of fondly. I think of mine as fondly, but I go back and I'm like, oh, this feels different than when I grew up here. But I don't know if that is just because now I'm older and I'm driving through and looking back and having new experiences. Like I think the same way about LA. Like I had a blast when I lived in LA and I was, you know, having all of these experiences and it was like super fun. But then now I go back to LA and I'm like, oh, this isn't the way LA was when I first moved here.
Of course. I feel like, I was just talking about this last night. I feel like we cement certain things in our brain when they happen. And sometimes when we remember them, we revert back to our mindset when it happened. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this happens a lot with childhood. Like I'll think back on childhood things, but I will, for some reason, default to almost who I was as a kid when I remember those things. And I have to kind of be like, no, let's come out and think of it as the 32-year-old that you are. All of this knowledge, well, some of the knowledge that you've gained in the 32 years, and look at it from that perspective. And I feel like when I go back to my hometown, sometimes it's this weird conflicting feeling of it's changed so much. I've changed so much, but I haven't changed with it. So there's a very like cognitive dissonance that's happening in my brain sometimes.
Well, I was listening to something the other day. Oh, God, I'm trying to remember, but you know, it was just where you grew up. Oh, I think it was your conversation with Adley.
Oh, great.
Yeah, like where you grew up is your little bubble, and you don't have social media and stuff. So like I think back on my childhood, and I was like, okay, I had like dinner at the table with my family every night, and you know, I had school, and you know, everybody, when you're in high school, that feels like what life is and what it's always going to be, and you don't realize till you're out of it that like there's life after high school, you know?
Of course.
But it's like you only have that bubble. I can't imagine the way that I think about how I felt about myself, about the self-acceptance I needed from everybody else. Like I can't imagine. I felt that way just about the people I went to school with and the life that I had in the town that I grew up in. I can't imagine also having social media to look at, and how young people must feel when they are constantly overwhelmed by social media and what's on social media and what everybody else is doing and where people are at a certain age. And, you know, I'm so happy that I didn't grow up with that. Like I had AIM, which like, do you remember when you had to like make, like you could go and look at somebody's profile and it was always like song lyrics and, you know, stuff.
Yes.
And I remember like
wingdings.
There were like the popular girls that had like really like cute aesthetics, and like I felt like I needed to also have a cute aesthetic. And like I'm just like it's all so dumb, but I'm like that was our form of social media. And like
it was,
you know, I got bullied on AIM. I can't imagine like people who have Twitter and Instagram, and now there's a thing I feel so old saying like that the young kids are doing, but like I'm so happy I know about it. Because when Romy grows up, she can't pull one past me. But now there's kids have Finstas. So they have the Instagram that their parents know about, and then they have a fake Instagram.
Oh, for all the debauchery.
For, other stuff.
That sounds dangerous.
Do you remember your first screen name?
Oh my God, you can't. This is going to say everything about me. My first screen name was my two friends and I started one together. Like we got AIM together and had different screen names, but we were all variations of the Powerpuff Girls.
Oh my God.
But sexual.
How old are you?
Oh God, 12.
Oh God. So like what were the names?
So it was like, I forget the three names of the Powerpuff Girls, but one of them was Bubbles.
Yeah.
And so mine was completely nonsensically come to Bubbles.
Oh my, you knew what that meant at 12?
I don't think I did. Like, I think I maybe heard it in like a rap song and I was like, this is the coolest word. Come to
God.
Bubbles. Yeah, man. I mean, small town, weird childhood shit. And you just start thinking about sex at 12.
Interesting.
It's not grandiose. What was yours?
Oh God.
Let's get out of this.
My mom and dad told me that I could have one if they made my screen name.
This is torture.
Yeah. So, and to their, probably like this is exactly why they did it, but like I never wanted to go on because I didn't want people asking me about my screen name. So
sure.
The backstory of this is my dad has like a language that he only speaks to dogs and babies. So like a dog,
almost a few bars.
Yeah. So it's like, who's my munchkin doody doody? Like it's the weirdest thing ever. It's like very cute and endearing when he does it. But I guess when I was born, he would just be, and he does it with my daughter now, but he would just be holding me, and under his breath he would be like, who's my kooky nookie? Like he would just make up words. And
that's
so then
adorable.
My nickname, I'm 30 years old and my dad still calls me Kook.
Incredible.
But Kook is Kooky Nook.
Okay, of course it is.
So
it's short for Kooky Nook, as we all know.
Yeah. So my screen name was Kooky Nook. And I didn't want anybody.
Amazing.
And then, though, when I was able to, like, when I figured AIM out and I realized I could change my screen name, I changed it to maybe something worse.
Tell me.
But I thought it was cool because, like, everybody had, like, all the popular girls had, like, Abercrombie Cutie and, like, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. So mine was, like, XO Hollister something XO. Yep. And I'm like, now I look back, I'm like, that's dumber than Kukinu.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There was a lot of XOs and like asterisks, and I remember
it was like
cute
a lot of things to do.
It was so cute. I think my the sequel to Come to Bubbles was like Rocker Courtney, and I had never rocked a day in my life. I just was like, this is the cool kids are rocking.
You're like, this is edgy.
I truly was like, this is how I get all the boys to look at me.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
No.
Who were you in junior high? I know your high school experience was a little different, but like, who were you in school for the most part?
I was, I was part of like every kind of group, you know, like I did theater. So I was friends with all the theater kids. I did sports. So I was friends with all those girls. I was friends with, I guess, who you would call quote unquote popular, but like, I was like, I look at it now and I'm like, I was just trying to be socially accepted. Yeah. You know? And so, I mean, I don't know. I would probably go back to young Katie and be like, don't care so much. Just like be a good person. And that was advice that like my mom, I remember my first day of freshman year told me two things. And I'm just going to say it. But the first thing, she was like, you know, be kind. Be known as being kind, because you will always be able to walk away from every situation knowing in your heart that you were kind. Yeah. And the other part of it was, don't be a slut.
Also important.
Because she said when you go to your 25th high school reunion, you will still remember who that was.
Of course.
Yeah. And that it wasn't slut shamey or anything like that. I think that it was like her way of being like, you know, respect yourself. And I was never like anyone with game. Like I was always the person who was like, please like me. Sure. And I had boyfriends and stuff, but it's, yeah. I mean, I guess my mom kind of knew that I wanted to be someone at some point, and she didn't want anything following me around that I might not feel proud of.
I love that. I also would imagine as a full-grown adult, she had the wherewithal to realize what we almost realize now, which is that if you're the promiscuous girls, right, in high school, which I was one of, they're not these like Samanthas from Sex and the City. They're not these empowered sexual beings. They are fucking broken. Like that's why they're promiscuous. They're looking for love in all the wrong places. And I think adults know that it's not empowering when you're 14, 15, 16 to have a lot of sexual relations with random people. Yeah. It's actually because you're just not, you don't know yourself yet. Yeah. And so you're trying to find yourself in other people, and it's not going to work. And I think as an adult, you realize that. But as a kid, you don't.
I will say now, looking back, I think that I am proud of the fact that I had enough wherewithal to know that I wasn't ready. I think that there's a responsibility for yourself and the other person when you're intimate with them that like, I guess I just had enough wherewithal to be like, I'm not ready. I don't know what this means. And I just knew like when I was like making out with my boyfriends, but I knew that I had friends and we were like 13, 14. People that are like 13, 14, I'm now that I'm 30, I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, a 13-year-old having sex?
Tiny. They're tiny little creatures.
Babies. And it's like, you know, you experiment when you're young and like that is part of growing up. But I'm proud of myself that I understood enough of what it meant for me.
Yeah.
And my parents, they just celebrated being married for 35 years. And my parents have been together for forever. And I guess I always was like, in my brain, I was like, that's something that you do with somebody that you love.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what love was. I was never like in love with anyone in high school enough to where I wanted to give them that from me.
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that because then I feel, I moved to LA when I was 17. And I remember like I look back on that and asking my mom to just let me live there by myself. And I remember in that moment being like, I'm an adult and you should like go live your life. Like my mom came out to LA with me after I had done American Idol because I was a minor. And
you were like, I'm good.
Yeah. I was like, go home.
I mean, you had gone through, I would imagine you grew up way faster and way quicker and way more, it was a much more of a thick grow up in those years than most kids your age though.
I mean, but I really only entered the industry at that time. Like I really only entered into like, my mom tried to help me the best she could. Like my parents aren't in the industry at all. No one in my family is. So
she is not, Katie Stevens is not a Nepo baby. You heard it here first. Her daughter will be, but that's okay. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
But, I moved to LA when I was 17. So it was like, I am thankful that I had my childhood.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine. And I give so much credit to people who were child actors. Like I can't even imagine, like, I'm sure when you're little and you're doing it, you're like, oh my God, this is so exciting. This is so fun. Like I'm on Disney Channel, but like I had a hard enough time trying to find myself in school and social groups and all of that just by being a normal kid in school. And I can't imagine like growing up, you have kids watching you, you have adults watching you, you have people that are commenting on you.
Yeah.
And like I had a hard enough time being, when I did Idol, I remember the judges saying like, oh, well, you don't know who you are.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think it was more of like, it was in terms of my artistry.
Okay.
But I'm like, yeah, I don't know who I am. I'm 16.
You're 16.
I'm 30 and I still don't know who I am. I mean, I have like a pretty good idea, but like, if there's anything I'm learning about life in terms of like being a mom, what that's teaching me is that like, I looked to my parents my whole life being like, you have all the answers. And now I realize, oh no, they had no fucking idea what they were doing.
I know, but now that's you. That's got to be a weird thing to be like, someone's going to look at me like I have all the answers.
Yeah.
That's very overwhelming.
But now I like apologize to my mom because when I went out to LA and I was 17 and I was like trying to cultivate my life and form, if I was going to live out in LA, I needed to make friends. I needed to like go out and explore things socially. And, my mom always wanted to come with me. And at the time I was like, I can't have my mom like cramping my style,
Oh my gosh.
And I now look at it and I'm like, what a sacrifice my mom made by coming out and living with me to like make sure that I was protected and safe. And my mom, if I did go out by myself, when she no longer lived with me, she would be like, call me when you get home. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. And I remember people that I had met out in LA when we would get home from like going out or going to a club or something like that, them being like, yeah, you have to call your mom when you get home. And I was like, yeah, because I respect my mom enough to know. And now even more so having a daughter, like I respect my mom enough to let her know because I know my mother and my mother loves me so much that she's not going to sleep right now because she wants to make sure that I'm not on the side of the road.
What a beautiful awareness that you had though of your mother's love for you. Do you feel like it's like it was 100% there when you were a kid, or is it definitely something that you look back on and you're able to more actualize?
My mom has always been my best friend. I didn't have the like angsty, rebellious teen years. Like, I mean, you know, we talk about it now. I definitely was going places where that I wasn't necessarily telling my mom, or telling my mom I was having a sleepover at a friend's, but like we were all going to a party, you know, like
we're getting
like
wild.
Just the typical mundane high school shit. But like,
of course.
But I never was having the like that some people do have a more tumultuous relationship with their parents. Like,
sure,
my mom's Portuguese, we're fiery, and you know, we've had our fair share of disagreements. I don't speak to anyone the way that I speak to my mother, but like,
incredible.
We are the people that like will have a heated discussion, and then like 5 minutes later we're like, it's over and we're talking about the next thing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So it's like, but I think I always had an awareness of that.
Yeah.
And I think when I wanted my independence when I was 17, the love was suffocating me a little bit. And I kind of, I felt that need to kind of break off. And I remember my mom when we had like a big fight to the point where like I've never walked out on my parents, and like I walked out and I got in my car and I was like so ready to like drive away, and it was over something so stupid. I think I wanted to like
always
go meet up with friends that I had met, and my mom was like, really, you're gonna leave me here again? And I'm like, my mom sacrificed everything to be out there. She made her life in Connecticut, and she was there for me. I can't imagine like I was leaving her to stare at four walls. Aww. And so I remember like getting in my car and I was like so angry, and I'm like, I'm going to drive away. And what I really did was I just like sat in my parking garage in the front seat of my car for like 30 minutes to like calm down. And then I remember shortly thereafter, I was like just about to turn 18, and my mom was like, I'm going home. And I remember she left me, and it was what I had been asking for, but I cried for like 2 hours when I realized I was finally alone.
Because it's like we want our independence, but we don't realize that what we actually want is to be able to do whatever we want and get that unconditional love. And
I can't imagine how hard it was for my mom to like let go.
Yes.
Like,
oh my God, the hardest.
Have you seen that meme that was like, by the time you're 18, you've already spent like, it's some crazy number, like 93% of the amount of time you'll spend with your parents every day in your life. Because if you think about it, it's like after my mom left me when I was 17, I never like I never lived with my parents again.
I know. Yeah.
Like I was going on and getting my own apartments, and now I live with my husband, and like then you see your parents like a couple times a year, maybe, if that.
I know.
And it's like, you know, time is a thief. It's wild.
Yeah, it's so concentrated for so long. And then, you know, depending on what your path is, it kind of can just be pulled right out. And then it never, ever goes back. It's so interesting. When we are growing up in our childhood homes, I feel like the thing that we can't wait to do is leave and be on our own and have that independence.
Well, I mean, that's always the case though. Like you're always like looking for what the next thing is.
But I feel like in my brain, I was like, independence to me means needing no one, not like, I think independence when I was a kid is what I have now, like was what I pictured it. And I do feel very independent, of course. But I don't think that the lack of community and home structure that you feel when so fervently when you're a kid, because you're inundated with it to a point where you can feel suffocated by it, is actually probably the best thing, the most helpful thing for you to have as a human being. Yeah. And it's so funny that we as kids get it so much and we just like, I don't fucking want this. Get out of here. Like,
well, you don't know any better at that point.
Of course not. Yeah.
I mean, I think about this often. Like the idea of we always do things for the last time, and we don't know when that last time is. Yeah. Like there's gonna be a last time that I like put Romy on my hip because I could hold her, you know. Yes. There's gonna be like, you know, the last time you have a sleepover. Like when was the last time you had like a I mean, for me, like I'm married now, so it's like I come home and I have a sleepover with my husband. But like,
sure,
there was a last time where I had like a girls' sleepover, and you know, like there's something nice about being an actor and, you know, filming in different places, and kind of you are creating a new community every time with your cast. And you know, when I did my show, I met 2 of my best friends, and that was fun because when we were shooting, we were having sleepovers all the time because I was, you know, my husband was here in Nashville and he would come visit and stuff. But like,
amazing.
You kind of like get that kind of like summer camp kind of feeling back. But there always is a certain last time, and you don't realize it when you're in it. Like you have no idea. And maybe it's better because like we would all just be kind of like over emotional all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know, I think that that's why for me, like I love like trying to be present in each moment and know that I'm making a memory that I will think back on.
Yeah.
And try to be able to picture that and realize like, oh God, remember when we did that? That was the last time I did that.
Yeah.
I should do that again. Or, you know, like kind of reminding yourself of these moments so that you can have gratitude.
Yeah. Because you'll never know when it is the last time when you're in it. So maybe just treating every moment like it is the last moment. I mean,
it's so hard to live that way.
Of course.
You know, there are those people that are like, if this was your last day. And I'm like, you know, you're reading.
You can't live like that every day.
Yeah, you're reading like a meme that's like, you know, treat every day like it's your last. Meanwhile, I'm like, I'm sitting on the couch watching a show and I'm like perfectly content. And I'm like, but man, is this how I should spend my last day?
Yeah.
Like,
should I go skydiving?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not sustainable to wake up every morning and be like, if today was my last day on earth, what would I do? Because we would just be so unhealthy.
Yeah.
I might probably be like, give me the drugs, give me the men, I'd be like, give me all the things.
Mine would be like food.
Oh,
I'm going to have every crap thing I could possibly eat.
Oh, I'd have a heart attack within like at least 7 days.
Yeah.
I would just eat all the things. But that's why. But there's got to be some sort of balance between enjoying. Because also, going back to what you just said, there is something really nice about just sitting on the couch, hanging out with someone that you love. I'm into paint by numbers, just like sitting and painting by numbers. It sounds such an old lady thing, but
I mean, I have become, lazy is not the word. I have become more like a homebody since becoming a mom. And I don't know if that's just because it's like I'm mom 24/7 and I have like nap schedules and eating schedules and like all of that stuff that I'm thinking about constantly. And you know, when they're little, there's a certain amount of time they're supposed to be awake, and you're trying to figure out with this little thing that like doesn't really know how to use her arms yet. Like you're trying to figure out like, how do I play with you? How do I like keep you stimulated while you're awake right now?
Yeah.
That there's something about like when she's taking a nap or when I have a moment that I'm like, I just want to sit on the couch. Like I also know that I need to work out or do dishes or do laundry or do all of these things, but like I need this second of nothing.
You're living in one extreme of chaos. It makes total sense that you would need to even it out by living in the other extreme of total peace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful and wonderful. That's humanity.
I saw, I don't know what the interview was, but Diane Keaton was talking about like what 10 out of 10 fun for her is.
Oh gosh.
And she was like, honestly, just like sitting on the couch and watching TV.
That's like her max.
But I'm like, same. Do you want to hang out? Sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to go on a walk right now. Like, how sad is that? But like, it's true. I'm like, I would rather sit here like 10 out of 10 and just like watch something, or just like sit on the couch or take a nap, or you know, that's just like where I am right now.
Yeah, this is the chapter.
But my pre-mom self, like in my brain, is like shaming me for not doing more.
Of course. Always.
But I have to remind myself that being a mom is really fucking hard, and it is a full-time job. and finding time to do anything else is also hard.
It's a full-time job that you have absolutely no control over. You don't get to set your hours. You don't get to turn your phone off. You don't get to walk away from your computer for emails. So whenever you can take that time, fucking Diane Keaton it up. You have to, or else you'll die. And also, you don't want to resent your kid if you don't take those moments.
And I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. You're perfect. It's fine.
But no. Like I understand. It's like, resentment comes in and it does. Like my husband went back to work pretty like a couple weeks after she was born, and I found myself like having these feelings of like, oh, he gets to go to work and he gets to be like around people and not be dad right now. Man, I wish I could have that. And he and I, we go to therapy just to like go to therapy. Sometimes we go to therapy and we're like, what are we gonna talk about? But we always find something. Of course. And I was just kind of talking and I'm like, I don't resent you, but there is a feeling of like, man, I wish I could have that. And what was great was hearing his side of it, which was, I don't want to be working. I want to be upstairs with you. Aww. But he's like, my difficulty, because my difficulty is like, I'm mom 24/7. I don't get a break. And then like when he's done working is when I'm like, oh my God, can you watch her so I could take a shower or meditate or, work out or whatever it might be. And for him, when he comes up and he's tired, early mom me was like, oh, why are you fucking tired? I've been with the baby all day, doing that thing. Yeah. And then hearing him be like, I'm working, wishing that I was upstairs with you. And I'm working really hard because as men, they get the like hunter-gatherer thing after they have a baby. And he's always been a hard worker. But then he explained to me, he's like, and then I come upstairs and I want to help you. And then I'm, dad full-time when I'm upstairs. So it's like, I also don't get a break. The tiredness is just a different tiredness. Yeah. And I had to step back and be like, oh, right. Like we don't have a monopoly on who's more tired. Like, yes, like nobody's, this isn't like I did this, you did this, it's we're even playing field and it can both be true for us and that's okay. And that like kind of helped me. And people gave me so much advice and sometimes unsolicited when I was pregnant because, you're walking around 9 months pregnant and people can't help but be like, say whatever they want to say to you. I can't even imagine. Yeah. And, there were just like the people who were always like, oh, make sure that you sleep now because you never get to sleep again. Shut up. Like now looking at it, it's like I kind of like resent those people because it's like, okay, no one's winning a medal for being more tired. Totally. Like, and you have to, yes, when you're the mom and I was breastfeeding, like you wake up every 2.5 hours when you have a newborn to feed them. You're waking up in the middle of the night. I let Paul sleep because I'm like, there's no sense in us both being tired. Like, I'm not just going to make you like wake up for the sake of like being awake with me. Of course. So I never resented him for getting rest. Yeah. And then you wake up and I only had the feeling of like, I don't even care that I'm tired right now. Because I just love you so much and I'm just so in awe that like I made you. That like I don't care. Yeah. Well, I think sometimes as humans we default to almost like a black and white setting where we're trying to find significance really. So if someone is like, I'm tired, I think for whatever reason our gut reaction is to be like, well, no. Because if you're tired, then I can't be tired. Like I don't have the significance in that moment of being the tired one. But that's not how humans work. Like we can both be tired and I can still find my significance in being tired and the fact that I still did all of this shit that I did. I still got out of bed. I still showed up to the thing. It's with anything. Like I notice sometimes like people that want to do the like one-upping. You're like, I don't feel good. They're like, oh, well, I feel worse. Yeah. Give you the whole list of why they should feel worse. Of course. Yeah. And it's just as parents, I just think you have to be on the same team. Even when you're in a long-term relationship, you have to be on the same team and know that like you're fighting every day for the same purpose. Yeah. And if you start pitting stuff against each other and not communicating your needs. Like that was something that was really hard. Like if I'm being honest, I struggled with some postpartum depression, and I was never really, and haven't been, I really haven't posted on social media, but you know, struggling with, well, I'll just say I never really heard about postpartum depression apart from, you know, the person who's on the news because they went into a psychosis from postpartum depression and like
the worst
killed their children, or the person who's like too depressed to take care of their children. And then I was further down the line where like mine was just being overwhelmed and having an allergy to asking for help, but like feeling so stuck and feeling like I didn't know what my identity was anymore. You know, social media was like my demise because, you know, you're on social media and your algorithm changes when you're pregnant. Like if you're looking up anything related to pregnancy or children, that's what you're getting in your algorithm. So I was getting a lot of videos of like these postpartum moms who were killing it, or people that were like fitting into their jeans a month after having their baby.
Why are all the people on the internet fitting right into their jeans?
It's honestly,
go away.
Like my closet was where I went to cry. Like I don't feel that way as much right now, but it's still hard, you know, like I'm not in my same body. I don't feel confident in my body. I feel confident in my ability to be a mom. I do think I'm killing that, but
yeah,
I just like social media was really hard for me, and it was hard for me to ask for help. You know, when you have a baby, there's so many people being like, let me know if you need anything. And I just never wanted to take anybody up on that. And I was in therapy, and, you know, I was talking to my therapist, and I was like, you know, I just don't want to ask for help because, you know, there are single moms that do this. Like they do this by themselves. And my therapist was like, no single mom is doing it by themselves because they want to be doing it alone.
Also, is that even what's best for the kid to be doing it on your own?
Yeah. And there's a reason why they say it takes a village. So I finally like had, you know, I had a breakdown one day where I was just like crying on my floor. And like, you just so desperately, like, I feel like I was like, it was so sad. But my friends were like, do you want a meal train? And I was like, no, but can we do like a hang train? Because it's like, as a mom, it's like, I take my daughter places and like I go places with her, but it's always such an event that I'm like, it's better for me if like people come over.
Yeah.
But I am so scared to like inconvenience people. But really, like as a new mom, that's what you need. You just like need people to come and like sit on the couch with you and remind you that you're still a person. At least that's what I needed. Like I just, for the longest time in the beginning, just felt like I felt so connected to my daughter, but I just felt like a milk factory. Like I didn't feel like I didn't, and you know, I didn't have, I didn't feel in my body. I wasn't working, and you know, all of the things that usually made me feel good about myself, I didn't have. I had my beautiful daughter, but then you have like guilt being like, okay, I am so happy that you're here. I'm so happy to be your mom. I'm so happy to be doing all the things that revolve around being your mom. But I'm missing all of these other things that made me who I am. And how do I find that again? So like now I'm in the point going into like month 5 of her being alive where I'm starting to be like, okay, I have help. My parents just bought a house nearby. And so like I'll be able to like drop her off and leave her with grandma and grandpa. And like, I think for me, I have anxiety too around like, I don't know, like having somebody else like watch your kids. You're like, I should be, I just have this like never ending, like I should be doing it. You
have
know?
to do it all, of course.
You have to do it all. And I
does.
just, man, like single mothers deserve to like live life for free. Like they deserve to have everything done for them, paid for them, like everything. Because it's really, really hard. And I understand how privileged I am to have a great family, a great partner, means to take care of my daughter. You know, like I don't have worries that some people have that are outside of of taking care of your kid, but also contribute to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But man, I just like, mothers truly are superheroes. And, you know, I now think about times where, you know, you're talking about, oh, what does she do? Oh, she's a stay-at-home mom. That should be like,
so she's busy as heck.
That should be
baby.
like, but people say it as like, like as if like, you know, she doesn't work. You know what? She works harder than like people who have like crazy, you know, 15-hour a day jobs.
Yeah.
She's got it crazier, in my opinion. And she's
for
not getting
kid,
paid
probably.
for it.
Yeah. I think it's, listen, if I have kids, I will make that decision. What is best for my children, aka what is best for me? Do I need to go back to work and hire someone to take care of my kids?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to figure, like, it has to be what is best for you as a mother to be what is best for the kids. And sometimes that is like, no, I actually need to be with them.
Yeah.
Or I need to be with them and I need help. Like it doesn't like
well, and it's so
whatever's
true.
Best.
In order to be the best mom, you need to be the best version of yourself. Yeah. And that's something that I'm like on the journey of figuring out, is like, I need to be happy with myself and proud of myself, and knowing that I'm taking care of me so that I can best take care of you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know what life is going to look like. Like, I don't know if when we're out of this strike, if, you know, I get a job and it films somewhere, what is that going to look like for her? You know, there's so much that's added now with having a daughter, or kids in general, when you're an actor, of being like, okay, well, I used to just be able to be like, oh, that shoots in South Africa, cool, I'll do that, and you just hop on a plane and you have this crazy cool experience, whatever.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of like, I got so overwhelmed postpartum thinking about like, oh my god, what if I get a job? And, you know, my last job shot in Montreal for like 5 years, and I'm like, what if I have that? Like, what are we gonna do in terms of like me and Paul, and, you know,
all of it? Yeah.
There's so many actors who are parents and they do it and they figure it out, and I know that I will, but I had to make the conscious choice to stop thinking about it until it's in front of me. Yep. Because I'll just get anxious and overwhelmed and can't do that.
Also too, like, you don't, I would imagine, you don't just pop out the kid and then all of a sudden your definition of who you are instantly changes. Like, you've spent however many years of your life identifying as an actor, an artist, a wife to this man, like all of these things that you've spent a very large portion, either your whole life or a very large portion of your life, defining yourself as. Just because you shot a beautiful baby out of your hoo-ha doesn't mean that all of a sudden... I
didn't, though.
That's right. Shot a beautiful baby out of your tummy.
Yeah.
Does not mean that there's just no way physically that your body or your brain is going to automatically be like, oh no, now we are defined as a mother. Right. Let's just make that shift real quick. No, it's got to be a slow,
you also,
defining thing.
Yeah, but you also, like, you can't define yourself by one thing. So it's just adding to the list of how I define myself. And,
of course.
And one thing is I look as a exciting thing is, especially where it comes to my work, how many ways being a mother is going to open me up and change the way that I act and change who I am in that space. Like, I'm excited to see that person.
Yes.
But, you know, obviously that's a little ways away because we're on strike.
Should we talk about the strike a little bit?
We should.
Yeah, so Katie has an incredible resume full of tons of things that we are very hesitant to talk about.
Yeah.
Because we are currently on an actor strike.
Yes. Can't talk about anything that I've been on because it counts as promotion and we can't promote anything. So yeah. I have worked on, it's like, I feel like I'm talking about like Voldemort.
Yeah,
like
you do not name the names.
You can't say it, but yeah, it's it's fucked up. If just, of course, like I posted the other day about you know, we're in Nashville, so and being a new mom, I can't be out in LA or New York to picket.
Of course not.
I wish that I could.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of everybody who is doing that, because I think what we're fighting for is really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for 5 years on, I mean, I think I could say this, I'm not promoting the show, but I worked for 5 years on the Bold Type.
Mm-hmm.
And let me go back even further. The first time I ever stepped on set, I was baffled by how many people are on set, how much goes into it, everything. Like writers, how hard they work, the stories that they create out of nothing. Like, and we always had a writer's room. There was a writer's room that was filled with people. I remember that was one of my favorite things, was to like go visit the writer's room, talk to them, have them like get to know me. We would like have lunch together, shoot the shit. And then, you know, slowly as they got to know me, they were starting to write for my voice, which is a skill in of itself. I mean, they're incredible, like the stories that they create. And then during the pandemic, they started doing these things called mini rooms. So rather than having, you know, a whole season where they're like in the room the whole time, breaking stories together, figuring out ideas with each other, you know, one person's writing a script, but like everybody's kind of putting their input. It's collaborative. And during the pandemic, they went to mini rooms where they would do like a couple days, and then everybody would go off individually and they would write their own individual episodes. And I think studios realized that they could pay people less. Whereas before, they paid people for the entirety of the time that they were in the writer's room, which was, you know, months. And, you know, however many episodes that was, the longer it was. And with mini rooms, they realized, oh, we could cut costs by just paying these people. I'm just going to pay you for this one episode. And then with streaming, I related a lot to music, because obviously my husband's in music, but you have the labels or the studios who have deals with these streaming services. They are getting paid millions, billions of dollars. And then the people that are the faces, the creatives behind it, are getting pennies. And it's, you know, I posted about this and I was talking about how I think everybody should be fairly compensated. And I got a message from somebody.
Oh, of course you did. The internet's always interneting.
That was like, well, why don't the TV actors share the wealth with, you know, with the people who watch the show and make it happen? And I'm like,
what?
I was trying to think of like how to explain that. I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm like, that's like, you know, there's like the restaurant groups who own the restaurant. And then there's like the chefs and the managers and the waiters and all of those people that are, you know, kind of like the actors, writers.
Yeah. The talent.
You don't get paid to eat at the restaurant.
No, that person's out of their mind.
I'm like, that makes no sense.
That person is hungry and needs to be fed.
Like, is that a correct correlation?
It's a great analogy.
Right? It's an analogy. Yeah,
unnecessary to make. But
yeah,
yes,
but
course,
you know, everybody. I get it. You see us on TV. You think we're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. That's not true.
No.
And the way that it used to be was when your shows aired on television, you got residuals. And then when they had reruns, you got residuals from that. You got paid every time somebody watched it.
Yep.
And with streaming now, and also being that there's so much content, they don't give you residuals. You know, our show is on these streaming services. There's all over the world. I know I'm like Voldemort. I don't think that I could say it, but you know, we're on a streaming service in the States and then in another streaming service somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't see any money from that.
Well, and
none.
I
see money from people renting it or buying it. Okay. And that's still, but it's still pennies. That, like there's a bar in LA called Residuals.
Oh yeah.
Where if you bring a check that's under $1, you get a free shot.
There's no way that they're still doing that.
I would
because it's everyone's checks.
I know.
Everyone.
I would die there because the amount of checks that I get that are for like 21 cents or 18 cents
all the time.
And it's like, I was watching a video of Mandy Moore talking about the strike out on the picket lines, and she was talking about like This Is Us.
Yeah.
Which you would think, nominated for a bunch of stuff, they must be making a bunch of money. They're not.
It's so crazy.
And it's not fair that there are these companies that are making billions of dollars, and they're caring more about the investors that they're in the pockets of and paying those people, and not compensating the people that are doing the art form and creating, and you know, the stories and the writers and everything that goes into creating a show. Yeah, money aside, that is why people watch it.
100%.
They're not watching it for how much money you've shelved into it, which obviously you can't make a show without it being funded by somebody. But also, if you're making billions and billions of dollars and compensating people is going to do nothing to your bottom line,
what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Well, I think it's important to mention two things. One, I feel like a lot of people who aren't in industry, or even maybe who are, will see a Mandy Moore. They'll see Scarlett Johansson on the picket line and be like, you are literal millionaires. What are you talking about? And I think it's important to differentiate between, you have these people who are making lots of money, who are series regulars, and you get paid. You can negotiate your terms at a certain point when you're an actor. And actors,
but there are very few people, like there's the times of like Friends when they were making millions per episode.
Yes,
like
that's also not a thing either.
Gone. That's not happening anymore.
These actors are making money elsewhere. They're making money on
branding
commercials.
and commercials and things like that.
Makeup lines. It's not, if they were making Friends money, they probably wouldn't have their Swedish makeup lines, or maybe they would. I don't know. But I think it's important to note, but there are the very, very large majority of the members of SAG and actors that you see on television
and WGA
and majority of writers, but specifically, like, I think the faces that people see and they get annoyed that, you know, again, Scarlett Johansson, I love Scarlett, but to use her as a face and be like, why is she asking for more money? She's first of all asking for more money for other people.
Yeah.
Because there have been several, I was thinking about this in 2019, I booked one thing. And I probably had 50 auditions that year, maybe more, but we'll say 50 to be whatever. So 50, we'll say 52. So that's one a week, right? A few hours each week working on audition. I booked one thing where I was a co-star and I made $1,000, and I've since maybe made $5 in residuals. And that was in 2019. I am the normal person. Yeah. So I think it's important, not that I think anything that we're fighting for would really fix that too much. However, because that show got canceled, and so that's a whole other different thing. But however, that is the reality of being an actor. It is working so much, and then you book one job, and that has to last you for the whole year. Well,
and then the other misconception is you're a series regular on something, and that's just going to continue. You know,
of course, yeah.
I finished the show in 2021, and then, you know, afterwards it was still pandemic-y. Auditioning was like a little sparse, and then in 2022 I did like a couple jobs like here and there because I needed the money. And then I got pregnant, and you know, I couldn't really, I don't know, I just like, I wasn't auditioning for as much because I was getting bigger.
You were very niche.
Like I was auditioning for some show and I was 9 months pregnant, and I was like, what, why am I doing this? I'm not going to be able to do it. So, but it's just, it's hard, and you can't, if we're not getting compensated for the work we have done, which we should be, it's hard to sustain. And the fact, and for writers even more so.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if your game plan, as the studios have said, is to let people go homeless,
that's so gross.
How cruel and gross is that?
I hope that's the minority of people.
But
however, they are the people who are speaking quite loudly.
Yes, but also let's talk about the AI of it all. Like,
yeah, that's a whole
I watched the press conference of, you know, Fran Drescher, our president, talking about the fact that we were going to strike, and reporters were asking her all these questions, and Duncan, but they were saying, first one of the questions was, you know, where did the conversation stop? Because the studios have said that they were giving a really fair deal, especially where it came to AI. And Duncan said, well, one thing that they talked about doing with AI was taking a background actor, paying them for one day,
which is like $100, if that, depending on how long.
Paying them $100
for a 12-hour day.
For a 12-hour day to scan them, their face, their body, their angles, everything.
Sure.
And then being able to use them in perpetuity without notice or compensation.
Yeah, like you could just show up in the background of a TV show and not know
and be like, what that's me.
Yeah.
And not be paid for it.
And where's the line? Like, could they, this is so dramatic, but could they put you in a skimpy little outfit and you could be a hooker in the back of some hooker movie? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's such a dramatic thing, but you could be a very prominent figure. I would imagine you couldn't have lines, but you could be a stripper on a stripper pole doing an incredible stripping dance and not get paid a single cent besides that $100 that they scanned you
that's
for.
fucked up in its own right.
Yes, hopefully there's ethical dilemmas there.
There's many things that are fucked up about this. Another being that, like, as an actor who worked on a show where we had background actors all the time, we worked in an office. Our background actors were the same ones from season 1 until season 5, end of season 5. So they became part of our family.
Of course.
And it creates the environment. Like, yes, there are movies like the Avatars of the world where they're using CGI to create this world. I don't mind AI when it's used as a tool. But when you're starting to, like, take away people's living, like when we got picked up for the show, like, those background actors were excited because they also were going to have a job. They also were counting on that pay.
Yep.
And I don't want to work on something where I'm pretending there's people around me. I got enough to pretend.
That's what I was like,
give me the environment so we make this as real as possible.
Yep.
And also, like, I posted some video the other day of this woman talking about how, AI, the potential is that you can have actors and you can basically choose your own adventure. Let's say you get home and you're like, hey, I really want a rom-com with Margot Robbie and, I don't know, just Benedict Cumberbatch,
Sure, put them together.
I don't know. But, like, those are the two actors you want to see in this rom-com. You can just, like, and AI will just make you a rom-com with those two people in it. I'm like, I am an actor because I love what I do. I love being on set. I love the environment of it. I love the surprise of never knowing what somebody else is going to do and the creativity of it. Like, that's why I've chosen to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want some digital version of myself to be doing what I want to do. Like, and another question that a reporter asked Fran was like, what do you have to say to fans who don't care about this and just want to watch their favorite show? And she said, why do you think no one's going to care about this? Because the truth is this is just a stepping stone. This is happening to us, but AI has the potential to take over lots of jobs.
Yeah.
And it probably is in the process of already doing it.
For sure.
Again,
of course, yes.
I think that AI could have really amazing advancements when used as a tool, not as a replacement for human experience.
I mean, at some point.
Sorry, I get really heated about this.
No, it's everything right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really affecting us, and it's not hard to think about how it's going to affect the whole world. I mean, I don't want to watch a TV show made completely by computers there's no human involved in. At that point, I'm like, what world are we living in where everything is just created by, like, we're just sitting on our couch all day long while robots bring us food and make us dinner, and we
like
watch
the
robots
movie,
on TV?
Isn't it like the movie WALL-E where, like, all the people are in space and they're just like blobs because they haven't done anything in years?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like.
But I'm like, how do we have all of these films about the dangers of AI.
Yeah.
How is no one cluing into that?
I know. And listen, change is good. Change can be very good.
Yeah.
we have to progress as a society.
Mhm.
But I think it's really important for us to kind of, we'll never know what it's going to be like in 20 years. We have no real idea exactly what it'll be. But we can sit at this point in time and be like, we can create these parameters that help the people who are living right now and hopefully help them the next couple of years live the best life. And I feel like too many people are not open to that.
It gives me never-ending anxiety about, like, what do I teach my daughter?
Yes, of course.
What do I teach her about, you know, if she has a dream to do something?
Yeah.
Like, I want to teach her to, like, you could follow whatever dream you want, and you're going to work hard to get there. But if somebody takes away her ability to work hard for something because inevitably this AI is going to replace her being able to do it, it's like, we have to be able to regulate it in some way and have boundaries with it in some way.
Yeah.
And like, props to anybody whose job is creating those advancements. I'm sure this is very exciting for you. But
of course, kudos for the advances that you made, but truly, but also we have to
like
other things.
Like, I want my daughter to live in a world where she has human connection.
Yeah.
She knows, like, phones alone are really hard for me when I look at little kids and they're just constantly, I sound like a 80-year-old woman being like, the kids are constantly on their phones. But like, truly, like, when I see a 6 or a 7-year-old who would rather be like playing games on an iPad rather than like rolling out in the dirt outside, like, that scares me. And I'm just gonna say it, like, I am gonna be that parent, especially because there's social media. I want my daughter to grow up with confidence in herself, not comparing herself, because I know what that's like, especially being in the industry, not comparing herself to anybody, experiencing things for herself, knowing how to look somebody in the eye and have a conversation with them. And I don't want to, she'll have a phone when she understands the responsibility of having it. And what she will also understand is that, and I saw a video on this and I just thought that it was really smart, and I was like, I'm going to use that, is that the phone is mommy's and daddy's. So if we give you the phone, we are letting you use something that is our property.
That's great.
So that she will never be like, this is mine and it's an invasion of my privacy if you look at it or monitor it or anything like that.
No.
Because she'll never be able to feel that way, because this is mommy's and daddy's. We are letting you use it. But if we are fearful that you're using it for something that you're not supposed to, for your safety, it is our job to protect you. And I will look at that if I want to, because it's mine.
It's yours. Well, I think I heard this on a podcast too. I want to say it was like Smartless or something, but it was like, we let our kids use the phone, but we are allowed to look at what you're doing at any point in time. Like, we are allowed to look at your texts. We're allowed to look at whatever. Yeah. I think by saying this is mommy and daddy's and you're allowed to use it also sets up the parameters of this is an adult thing that we are letting you, because we trust you, use this thing and all of its magical wonders. And if you
break that trust,
then you no longer get adult things potentially. Yeah. At least that could be a thing that happens, and I think it sets up. And
the thing with the internet is the internet lives forever. And I remember my mom teaching me that before it was really even a thing.
Before the internet was like, actually forever. Yeah.
I remember one time I got caught on MySpace. I was like probably middle school, and I got on MySpace. My mom didn't know that I had one. And I had left it up on the computer, and it was back when we had just the home computer that everybody used.
Yeah, dial up.
And my mom saw that I had written on a friend's wall, and I said, "Hey, bitch,
stop it!" Oh no, you used the B word.
I used the B word, but it was less about the fact that I used the B word, more that I used it on the internet. And my mom understood well enough at that point to be like, you're putting this, she sat me down and she was like, you're putting this on the internet. Know that anything you put on the internet is forever. Somebody can look back at anything that you write and use it against you. This was before Twitter existed.
Your mom.
This was so before insightful. Any of this stuff. So it's like, I've always been like so conscious. Like, I mean, Twitter, I always thought was kind of stupid. I'm like, who wants to know what I'm eating for breakfast? Like, no one.
Lots of people though, Katie. They really do. But
sure. It's like, and I don't even use Twitter anymore because I don't like it. It just feels very divisional to me.
Hi guys. So sorry for the jump scare. I know we're probably mid-conversation right now. We had some technical difficulties. My bad. We're learning and we're growing. So the video portion of this episode did get cut a little bit short. I'm going to go ahead and play the rest of the audio version. So if you want to listen to that here, you can. If you want to listen to it on Spotify or Apple, it's available there as well. I'm so sorry. Again, we're learning and we're growing and we're doing the thing. And I'm getting better. And I hope you guys enjoyed it up until this point. Okay. Love you. Look how cool this shirt is, though. Okay. Love you. Bye.
But I just, especially now, I'm like with Instagram and like, you know, like I get sad when I see like young girls that I can tell the things that they're posting are for attention or due to insecurity and stuff. And it's just like, I am scared that my daughter could potentially feel that way. Like there was that, I forget the name of the documentary, but there was a documentary about social media. And there was a moment in it where this little girl was being cyberbullied by people talking about something about her appearance, which happens on a daily basis. When you put anything out there, you're allowing people to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it was like about her ears. And then she was like sitting in the mirror crying and covering her ears. And it just like broke my heart into a million pieces.
Yeah.
Now, especially having a daughter, I think as women, there's something about picking apart your own body or allowing people's opinions or what they say to then make you think about picking apart your body. And I've kind of created a rule in my house and among the women in my family that you are not allowed to speak negatively about your body in front of my daughter.
That is oh my God, I love this. The most fantastic rule ever.
Because and you know, I've talked to my mother about this, but like, you know, my mom's like a teeny tiny lady, but I think that like any sort of like, oh, I have to get to the gym, or oh, my belly feels flabby, or anything like that, it makes you look in the mirror and be like, what's my flaw? Or how many times does somebody say you look beautiful and your immediate reaction is to be like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Where do you learn that? You learn it from like, how many women in your life do you sit around that talk poorly? I've done it, but like I want to make a conscious effort that like I don't want my daughter to hear me say anything bad about myself or my body, because that's not what matters. We take care of ourselves. We do our best to stay healthy and, you know, do the best we can. But like, you are uniquely made, and I don't want anybody to be able to look at you and say something that then is going to make you question your own reality. Yeah. Because I've been there, I've done that, I lived through it, I'm living through it on a consistent basis because of constantly being younger and trying to undo it. And how many times do you look at pictures of your younger self where you're like, oh man, I look great in that picture, and I remember thinking that I looked fat.
So fat.
Or that I looked not pretty. It's heartbreaking.
Wild.
So yeah, that's my rule.
Okay, so we'll wrap up. My last question.
Okay.
Because I've never asked you this, and I'm just curious. Why are you an actor? Why do you think you are an actor? Like, where do you think it started? And then why do you think you enjoy it?
Well, I know I'm an actor because I love storytelling. Mm-hmm. Acting is a little bit like therapy for me. The fact that I can play another person, maybe a person who falls out of control, maybe somebody, you know, I step into people's lives who are so wildly different from mine. And I am a person that is in my own life a little bit of a perfectionist. So having an outlet where I can connect with people through stories that are different from my own and kind of lose control in a way that I feel like I can't lose control in my own life is really special to me.
Like
but
a safe. Yeah.
Yeah. But I always thought that I was going to be like a pop star.
Mm-hmm.
And then quickly after American Idol, I realized that like I don't really love the music industry.
Sure.
And you know, I want to release music at some point just to say that I did it. I don't really care what it does. I just don't want to go through I don't want to go through my whole life being like I never did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of not fell into acting because I worked my ass off, but I made the switch because I was discouraged by the music industry. And then I was like, okay, I had a music agent, but they also had an acting department. And I walked in and I said, I know you get a lot of singers in here that say that they want to act, but like, tell me what I have to do and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to work really hard. And their acting department agreed to rep me. And then I just kept going out on auditions, and I went to every class that I possibly could. I went to every master class, every casting workshop back when they had those. Like I did everything.
Yeah.
And I auditioned and I got thick skin and realized that it's going to be more no's than yeses. But like when you get that one yes, it feels really good. And I think Amazing. I kind of got like addicted to that feeling. But also just like the collaboration of working with other people and being like, you know, going to class. Like I'm constantly inspired by people's interpretations of things and how different and what a spectrum that could be and how many different things speak to me and I don't realize it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, yeah, of course.
But I mean, I'm so happy that I fell into acting and there's, to me too, another thing that was appealing to me was in music, if somebody doesn't like your music, it's you.
Yes.
So it feels like they don't like
you. Yeah, you're stupid and dumb.
If even though I get protective of the characters that I play, because like a big rule is that you can't, even if your person is doing something bad, you have to find their truth in it and why they're doing it and why they think they're right. Mm-hmm. So like anytime somebody's like not liked a choice that my character's made, in my brain I get defensive about it, but I'm able to let it go because it's not me.
Yeah.
I'm playing a character.
Yes.
And that's also really freeing.
Yep.
Is to be out of control in that way.
Yep, that's safety again.
And have that kind of, there's like something really beautiful about being able to just be like, I'm going to take this leap and my character's going to catch me.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you're a phenomenal actor.
Thank you.
You know, I hope you know that I think that and know that and believe it with my whole heart. And as soon as this fucking strike is over, I'm so excited to see what you do. And everyone go watch stuff that she's done after the strike.
Yes.
After the strike is over, you can go watch all the beautiful things that Katie has done.
Yes.
In her art.
But nice to be able to get to know me without me having to talk about work.
Yeah, of course. This was so wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Did you have fun?
I had the best time.
Okay, good.
I just felt like I was talking to my friend, which I am.
I know. I love you. Thank you for doing
this.
Okay.